Hello everyone, this is Suresh from Azure ADB. Today our topic is how to use date underscore sub function in PySpark. So this function may be used to subtract a specified number of days from a date column. So if you see the syntax, date underscore sub, and we need to pass two arguments, that is start underscore date and days. So this is the column name, date column name, and integer value we need to provide to subtract number of days from this date column. So what it does is it subtracts a specified number of days to date column. That means here, suppose if you provide positive value, then it means it will print you past date. That means suppose if you provide 10, so it will subtract 10 days. Suppose if you provide a negative value, suppose minus 10 means it will provide future date. That means today date plus 10 days. So start underscore date is the column, that is column name containing date values. And days is number of days to subtract, and these values should be integer type. So now our first scenario is how to subtract days from current date. That means from today date, I want to subtract some number of days. For this, I'm importing the required functions. Like mainly we required date underscore sub. And since I want to do from current date, I required current underscore date. So call unlit and date difference. Date difference to cross verify whether correctly subtracted or not. So first what I'm doing spark dot range one. So that means I am trying to print one row. So one row. So spark dot range one means this one. This is the column. Suppose if you try to display spark dot range one, it will print this particular column with 0, and spark by default it will print Spark by default it will print as ID, column name as ID. So on top of this, what I'm doing, dot with column, and I'm generating the column name that is current underscore date, that is this one. So here I'm using current underscore date function. So that means today's date it will print here. On top of this, what I'm doing here is subtracting the number of days from this particular date. That means this one. So here I'm using dot with column. I'm mentioning the column name, that is 10 days before. My function is date underscore sub, and inside that I'm providing current date comma 10. So as per syntax, we need to provide either date column or date value, or the date value can provide like this by using this function current underscore date. Now for this particular date, since I mentioned 10 days, here 10 means number of days. Since function is date underscore sub, since I provided positive value, that is 10 days, so it will subtract 10 days from this particular date. So if you do minus 10, what you will get? Here 7 days will go, and remaining 3 days from February. But February ends at 28. So 28 minus 3, 25. So total 10 days it will reduce. To confirm whether this is correctly coming or not, we can use this date diff function. So date diff function, what we can do is we can pass two date columns here. So here I'm passing current date. So current date means this one, this value, and minus call of 10 days before, that is this column. So now what it does, this date minus this date. So if you do minus, we'll get 10 days. And next column is I want to add days to date column. So with column, and this is the column name. So here it is 10 days before. That means it's subtracting 10 days. So here I am printing 10 days after. So that means since it is subtract function, I am giving negative value. So negative value means it will add the days. So my current date, that is today's date. For this date, I am adding 10 days. That is 7 plus 10, I am getting 70. So to cross verify this, I'm creating one more column, difference days 2. Here I'm using date diff function and I'm passing today's date column, that is this one, and 10 days after, that is this one. So if you do difference of these two, you will get 10 days here. And similar way, I want to calculate the 90 days before. If you see here, 90 days before. So for that with column, so my column name is 90 days before, that is this one, date underscore sub. So here I'm passing lit. So that means I'm passing some custom value here. So 2026 37. So this is my date value. For this, since I given positive number, what it will do, this function is, it will do minus 90 days from this date. So here month is 3. If you see here, 90 days means almost 3 months. So if you do minus 3 months, you will get this one, 90 days before. So we'll get 2025 12 7. 2025 12 7. So 90 days it will reduce. So to confirm this, difference days 3, here I'm using date diff function. So call current date. So today's date, from today's date, I am minusing this value. So that means my today's date is this one. I am doing this one and minus of this one. If you do these two, I will get 90 days. And similar way, I'm creating one more column, that is 1 day after. This is 1 day after. How I'm creating date underscore sub function. Here I'm passing current underscore date. That means today's date. So what is today's date? 2026 37. So for that, I'm using lit minus 1. So you can pass either way. Directly you can mention minus 1, or you can pass it lit minus 1. So minus 1 means here for subtract function, if you're mm, providing negative value means it will add the date. So today's date is 7 and it will become 8 here. And to cross verify this, diff days 4 date difference. So I want to check difference between today's date and this one, 1 day after. So we are getting 1 here, 1 day. Okay, so like this, you can subtract the days from current date. So next scenario is how to subtract days from existing date column. So here we used current underscore date function. So that means we want to extract the dates, that means subtract the days from current date. But here I have one sample data frame. So from this date column, I want to subtract the days. So this is my sample data frame. So here I have this many values here. So here I'm creating data frame by using spark.create data frame. I'm passing this data and column name I given is order underscore date. And if you see initially it is string type. So since I'm passing dates as string, it giving as string type. So first what I'm doing, first I'm converting string to date here by using with column, and my new column is, since I'm giving same column name, it will overwrite. And here call of order date, that is this one. So this one I'm doing cast and converting to date type. So now my order underscore date column become date type, date data type. And now my column is available, that is date column is available. What I'm doing here is I'm creating one more column here, that is 7 days before. 7 days before means here I'm using date underscore sub function, and I'm passing the column name, that is this one, order date, and I given positive integer value, that is 7. So since it is given positive value, it will minus the number of days. If you see here 12, 16 is there, so 16 minus 7 you'll get 9. Similar way 10 minus 7 you get 3. So here 5 minus 7. So in February month 5 days will go, and in January 2 days. So 29 will get. So similar way here in January month, here it is January month. So minus 7 days means in December 29 will get. So here 110 is there. So minus 7 days means we'll get 3. So here 15 is there. Minus 7 means 8 will get. And to cross verify the days, so again I'm creating one more column, date difference 1. Here I'm using date difference function, and I want to check the difference between this column, order date column, and this 7 days before column. So it will find the difference between these two dates. It will give you 7. See, all are giving 7 days. So next, what I'm doing, I'm creating one more column, that is 30 days before. That is date underscore sub current date. That means today's date, and I given 30 days. What it will do, it will minus 30 days from current date. So today is 3/7. If you see here, current date is here 2026 3/7. So for that, it will do minus 30 days. So what you will get 30 days before, you will get 2/5. Okay, so these values will be constant. Why? Because we used current date. And one more column I'm creating, date difference 2, that is this one, to verify the date difference between current date, that is today date, and call 30 days before this one. Today's date and this one, if you do minus, you'll get same 30 days difference here. And my one more scenario is using date underscore sub in filter condition. Suppose I want to filter the records. Suppose I want to get records from last 30 days. So this filters rows where order underscore date is within the last 30 days. If you see this one here, I have total 6 records. So in this, I want to filter the records, so which are last 30 days. So here what I'm doing, on top of this data frame, I'm using filter function, and inside filter function, I want to filter on this order underscore date column. So this is order underscore date. Here what I'm giving condition, if what are the values in this column is greater than or equal to date of sub function, current date means today's date, 30 days. So from today's date minus 30 days. Since it is subtracting the days, this same function for easy understanding, I given here. That is this one. So 30 days before. So these values it will compare. So what will happen now? It is order date is greater than or equal to. So it will compare these two values. See 216 here 25. So 216 is greater than. So this order date is greater than or equal to this value. So it will print this one. So similar way 210. So this 210 is greater than this 25. So it will print this value. And 25. So 2525 it is equal. So here condition is even greater or equal. So next these two are January records. So since it is not matching the condition, so it won't select these three rows. So it will print only these three records here. So here these three records it will print. And similar way, dynamic subtraction using column value. Suppose this is my sample data frame. So this is my data. And here I'm defining the schema here. So struct type, and I have two struct fields. That means I have two columns here. So one is order date, that is this one, and one more is days to subtract. So these are all the numbers I want to subtract from these dates. So first time what I'm doing, spark.create data frame. This data I'm passing here, and this schema I'm passing here. Next, since these dates are string type, I am converting to cast. So this order date, so call of order date dot cast date. So that means now it converted to date type. So now I have date column. And on top of that, I have one input column. So this I will use it for subtracting the days. So if you see earlier, we are giving some hard-coded value, that is some fixed value, either 5 days or 10 days. So it will subtract from days. That means, suppose if you are giving 5 means, same 5 days, it will subtract from all the rows. But here, for each date, each days, each number of days I want to subtract. So here 216 is there. Here I want to subtract 5 days. So this 16 become 11. So here 216 is there. I want to subtract 15. If I do minus 15, I will get 1. So 216 is there. If I do minus 30, so in this month 16 days will go and remaining 14 days will go in January. So we'll get 170. So here 216, 60 days minus. So we'll get this, these two. For 60 days, December will come. So for this value, if you do minus 90 days, it will come November. So like this, dynamically, we can pass the integer values to subtract the columns. Okay, so these are the different scenarios on how to use date underscore subtract function. So that's all about this video. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.